Hey guys, Shy Got Picks here. Hope everyone's doing well, having a great week. We're here to break down UFC Fight Night Tybura versus Spivac 2. We're going to be going over every single fight on the card, the best bets, what fights we should avoid, round props, as well as any possible parlays. We've been running a contest for each video. For pay-per-view events, we've been doing $15. For non-pay-per-view events, we've been doing $5. Last week we had two commenters win. The total ended up being 155 total significant strikes. We had one guesser at 145. He got 250. And Casual Vid Enjoyer winning back-to-back weeks. He also got 250. So don't forget, comment below on what you think the total significant strikes in this card's main event will be. You just have to like this video and subscribe to be eligible to enter and win the contest. Back-to-back-to-back weeks. We hit on our straights and our three-leggers. We're on fire. But unfortunately, we can't cash our larger leg parlays due to one leg, which sucks, especially because it's one leg. 2 weeks ago it was Molly McCann. Last week it was Lupita. Super close fight for Lupita. But we did cash with Davidson Ferreiro, Moneyline, as well as Gaziev, Fernandez, Chiesa, Parlayski, along with a Chiesa, Figgy, and a Magomedo Parlayski. All right, onto the card. All right, for the first fight in the card, we got Stephanie Luciano versus Talita Alencar. Stephanie Luciano opened it up at a negative 155 favorite. She went all the way up to negative 190. I believe right now she's at negative 165. She's 5'5" with a 67-inch reach. Well, you have Alencar, who's a plus 160 underdog, who's also 5'5", at a 64.5-inch reach. So we're looking at a 2.5 reach disadvantage for Alencar. They fought last year in Dana White's Contender Series, and we saw Alencar won the first two rounds. First round, she controlled Luciano on the ground for the majority, and the second round was closer, but was still Alencar's round. But in the third, Luciano dominated Alencar because she basically emptied her gas tank by that point. I don't see this fight being much different. I think Alencar wins the first round and Luciano wins the third round, and it comes down to the second round. I think Luciano could do more damage to Alencar. She is younger, and this is also one of those spots where she lost the last fight. But Vegas is giving us worse odds. And the same thing with Leon, they know exactly what they're doing here. She lost her last fight, but we're getting worse odds here. So ultimately, I'm going with Luciano. Give me Luciano by decision. We're avoiding this fight altogether as a better. Up next on the card, we got Youssef Zalal versus Jarno Errens. I believe Zalal is the biggest favorite on the card. He's currently at negative 410. He's 6'1" with a 75.5 reach. While we have Jarno Errens, who's at plus 320. He's 5'11", so 2-inch disadvantage. Meanwhile, he has a 1 reach advantage on Zalal. So Zalal's start of his career, it didn't go so well, but he's been fighting really well as of late. I see why he's a massive favorite here. He completely destroyed Billy Quarantillo, and this is all after he got cut from the UFC. He got some wins after that. He comes back. Ultimately, he is a good fighter. Outside the UFC, he has a 100% finish rate, but when he is inside the UFC, he does look a lot different. He goes to the judges, which is very weird. But now that he got, when he got cut and came back, he's showing a lot more urgency while he is back. On the feet, this will be tough, but Aaron's takedown defense is awful. I can easily see him being taken down here and taken down easily. Truthfully, I think he will be taken down by Zalal and be kept down there. We've seen Aaron been taken down by basically all of his opponents. Zalal just got his black belt. I think Zalal is a smart fighter. He'll bring him down and probably even submit him while he is down there. Ultimately, give me Zalal by decision. This is a great parlay piece. I do love him in a three-legger here. Up next on the card, we got Karl Williams versus Jhonata Diniz. Karl Williams is currently at negative 225. He's 6'3" with a 79-inch reach, while Jhonata Diniz is at plus 185. He's 6'4" with a 79.5 reach. So he only has a 0.5 reach advantage over Karl Williams. This is a wrestler versus striker matchup here, while Karl being the wrestler, of course. There's only two ways this really goes down here is, Karl Williams takes him down and keeps him down there, or Diniz lands one and cracks him and sends Karl Williams to the Shadow Realm. Sometimes Karl likes to bang in there like he did with Taf or Bresky. I think -2 price tag or even anything above that is a little too wide here. I think the path to victory is way too clear for Karl Williams ultimately, though. I think he'll be able to wrestle fuck him down to the ground and keep him down there. This is one of those situations that I think is very clear. This is a 3-leg parlay skier for sure, but that's really all. I can't reason paying a price tag for Karl Williams on a straight. I do like him on a 3-legger. Give me Williams and give me Williams by decision. Up next on the card, we got Karol Rosa versus Pannie Kianzad. Karol Rosa opens this fight at -175. Meanwhile, Pannie Kianzad is at +150. We do have some action on this fight as a bettor's perspective. Karol Rosa comes into this fight also as a -200, opened up at -180. So actually, my graphics is wrong here. Makes sense. She's younger by 3 years. She has a 1.5 reach advantage. She has elite volume. She's landing 6.34 significant strikes per minute. I love that. She can even go for some takedowns if she wanted to. She's landing 1.22 for every 15 minutes. Meanwhile, Kianzad doesn't have the best grappling here. So I got Rosa winning in the grappling department as well. So I see the path to victory being on the Karol Rosa side. I won't be adding this as a parlay ski piece because I don't think on the money line side is really the side we should be taking here. Last week we almost went perfect besides the 2 fights, and one loss was due to Sam Hughes. 2 weeks ago it was due to Molly McCann. Women's MMA can be so unpredictable sometimes, but give me Karol Rosa by decision. All of Rosa's fights have gone by decision. Fight goes to decision is at -450, and over 2.5 rounds is at -500. I don't like those odds. I guess those are good parlay pieces if you, I guess. But Rosa at decision is -145, and that's exactly where I'd be laying here. Give me Rosa by decision, and I like that -145 price tag. Up next on the card, we got Charalampos Grigoriou versus Toshiomi Kazama. Grigoriou opened up at -210, and now he's at -250. I like that jump. It makes me more confident to pick. Kazama in his UFC debut got finished by Nakamura in 33 seconds. In his second fight, he got knocked out in 4 minutes to Armfield. He didn't look the best in the striking department, and I see nothing different happening here. I don't think Kazama's takedown will be successful. Any of his takedowns, truthfully. I think Grigoriou is going to knock him out, and I think he's going to knock him out early in the first round. But if this does get past the first round, it'll be a big sweat because Grigoriou's cardio is pretty trash. Truthfully, he basically has 1.5 rounds in him. If you really look at it, he doesn't really go further than that. So when we look at it as a better perspective, -250 is kind of high. We can toss him in some parlay skis for sure. But here, I'm actually looking at a round prop bet. I'm looking at the under 2.5 rounds at -180, or even the under 1.5 rounds at +105. I think he sends him to the shadow realm and early. At -180, we're getting a great price tag, especially a fight doesn't go this distance as is at -290. Why would I pay that price if we don't even think his stamina is going to be able to go past the third round? Ultimately, give me Grigoriou and give me in by round one knockout. Up next on the card, we got Yana Santos versus Chelsea Chandler. Yana Santos opened up this fight at -125. I believe she's at -140 now. Chelsea Chandler opened up the fight at +105. Let's not think about this one too much. If you look at their resumes, they're night and day. You have Yana Santos, who's been fighting in the UFC since UFC 222, where she debuted in the main event against Chris Cyborg as a +600 underdog. She lost, of course, but look at her competition compared to Chandler. I think this is a step down for Santos, formerly known as Kunitskaya, of course. If you're looking for that Cyborg fight, her name was Kunitskaya, of course. And I think this is a big step up in competition for Chandler, who's fighting fighters like Josiane Nunez and making it not so impressive, truthfully. So, do I see Chandler being able to take down Santos here? Sure. That's why we're avoiding this fight completely as a bettor's perspective and keeping our money in our pocket. Chelsea Chandler can take her down to the mat and technically win this fight, I guess. But this is the same woman who literally ran away in the cage while fighting. Plus Santos has some solid takedown defense. So ultimately, give me Yana Santos by decision here. Up next on the card, we got Chris Gutierrez versus Quang Lee. Chris Gutierrez opens up the fight at -370, of course, because we lost the Basharab fight. So this is a short notice fight for Quang Lee, of course. Quang Lee is not bad. He's truly fun to watch. But this is short notice, and it's going to be too much for Quang. I think he's a good striker, but the short notice, that it's like what we saw last week with Vucevic. Christian Gutierrez is going to chop at his legs throughout the entire time. He has a full camp. Negative 370 is probably low if you look at it. I think Gutierrez can probably even knock him out by technical knockout, especially with the leg kicks. But ultimately, I will be taking Gutierrez by decision at 350. I'll gladly add him in some parlays. Up next on the card, we got Danny Barlow versus Veretennikov. Barlow opened up at negative 280, and now he's at negative 360. That's a massive jump. And in this case, I don't like it. Veretennikov is very competent. Striking wise, he's very solid. He's shown us in the contender series versus Michael Morales. He's won every fight since that fight. But with all these disadvantages, it's going to be very hard for him. 5-inch reach disadvantage is massive. We saw how big of a factor was that how much of a big how big of a factor that was last week with Joel Alvarez versus Brenner, especially because Alvarez is a very technical striker and so is Barlow. I don't like the line here, but I do see him taking his time and striking with confidence and landing his power blows against Veretennikov. 5 inches is too big of a factor to ignore. Barlow is landing 8.80 strikes per minute while only absorbing 3.65. This fight will take place on the feet, so therefore we have to go Barlow here. A lot of people have him going by knockout, but I don't see it. Give me Barlow by decision. Time prop wise, fight goes the distance is at plus 135, but Barlow to win by decision is at negative 140 compared to 110 that he finishes him. So the math here is not mathing for me. He's a negative 350 favorite, and the fight doesn't go the distance is a favorite. Meanwhile, Barlow is more likely to win by decision. It just doesn't make sense here. Personally, I think it's a trap. I'll be taking him by decision. Up next in the card, we got Chepe Mariscal versus Damon Jackson. Chepe opened up as a negative 225 favorite. Now he's at negative 220. I love Damon Jackson, but this is kind of a short notice fight for him. I believe it's 17 days. His chin is chinny. He's now 36. Chepe is 31, so he is 5 years younger than him. Short notice is going to be very tough for him here, especially because I expect this fight to be very high paced. We've seen Jackson gas out in some fights because he goes to war. I think Chepe can land a big blow here on Jackson ultimately. And ultimately I think this will be a tough one for him, especially on a 17-day notice. Yeah, we've seen him get knocked out. I've been watching him since the Bektic win when he was a plus 400 underdog, but now he's 36. He's been knocked out before. Those two factors are too high here for me. So it's really tough to pick him here. Give me Chepe by decision, but should be a hell of a fight here for sure. Up next on the card, we got the main event: Spivac versus Tybura. This fight opened up as a pick'em, and now we have Spivac at negative 155, which makes absolutely no sense to me. It should be a pick'em all the way. This is a very, very close fight here. This is a rematch here 4 years ago, I believe. Tybura was able to take him down in every single round. Spivac had no control time. Uh, Not much has changed besides them getting older, I guess. Spivac has gotten better, don't get me wrong. Both have good resumes. Tybura in his last five lost to Volkov and Aspinall and has wins over Romanov, taking his undefeated streak, as well as wins over Ivanov and Tuivasa most recently, while Spivac has wins over Greg Hardy, Gusta Sakai, and Derek Lewis, but has lost to Aspinall and Guine in his last five fights. So, they're winning fights that they should win, and they're losing fights that they should lose, sort of say. But and they also don't have bad losses here either. On the feet, maybe I guess I favor Spivak here, but you can't say by much. I think Tybura is a better grappler here. Spivak is winning fights by grappling. If you look at it, he did it with Sakai, he did it with Lewis, he did it with Hardy, and none of these guys have good ground defense. They don't have good ground games, period. And Tybura has a black belt. So yeah, ultimately, I don't really see the best path to victory for Spivak, especially because that's been his path to victory recently. And I don't think, I just don't see that we'll see much of a difference from the first fight here. I just see this going kind of the same way. I don't like that Spivac is a favorite and he's going up in odds. For me here, it's a dog or pass, I think. And I think you could be confident in the dog here. It's Tybura's Tybura. He's I don't think Spivak doesn't want to take him down. He just doesn't. Especially now with the black belt and Tybura. So I'm going with Tybura and give me Tybura by decision. Well, that's all for me. It's your boy Shy Got Picks here. Don't forget to comment below your guess of the total significant strikes for the main event. If you win, I will be sending you $5. Don't forget to be eligible. You must like and subscribe. And don't forget, comment below and give me your best slips. Tell me what you think is going to hit. Tell me what parlay skis you got. I'll see you next time. Stay up.